Hello and welcome to Hot and Heavy, the Elaine podcast. I'm your host, Shivani Desai. Today I'm covering Season 1, Episode 3, The Robbery. How's everyone doing out there? I hope everyone's staying safe, staying sane. I'm doing well. I'm so excited that the first episode is out. The Stakeout came out last week, and I've just been wanting to do this podcast for so long, and there were so many times I talked myself out of it because I was scared of various things. And to have gotten through all those things and worked through the issues, even some technical issues last week I was having to get the episode released, just feels good. You know, when you have a goal and you are so scared of so many elements about it, once you work through all those things, it just makes the road that much smoother for you to keep going. And that's what I intend to do. Just keep going. So, and plus I had so much fun. I had so much fun talking about the Stakeout and talking about everything I love about Seinfeld. It's my favorite show. And Elaine Bennis is my favorite character of all time. So it's just super fun. And I'm such a nerd with really digging into comedy and, all things Seinfeld, really. So feels good. Other than that, just enjoying some beautiful Colorado weather. It's actually been thunderstormy for the last few days, and I welcome it. Well, first of all, we need the rain. It's very dry here in Colorado. But being a Midwest person, I grew up in Royal Oak, Michigan, which is a suburb of Detroit. I don't know, it's funny. Moving out here to Colorado has been amazing in so many ways, but the weather, there's nothing like this weather out here. It is sunshine. Almost, I think it's like 300 days out of the year is sun. And it's not that way in Michigan. So it's been wonderful to enjoy that. But I think it's my Midwest roots that makes me kind of crave some cloudy and rainy days. So I've been enjoying that the last few days. It's soothing to me. I love the sound of the rain and the smell. All right, I'll stop now. But I love a rainy day. And so I've been thankful for enjoying that here in Colorado for the last couple of days. Other than that, my mom is visiting. As I'm recording this, there are Indian spice smells just wafting around me. She spoils me when she visits with all of my favorite Indian food, which I wish I could make myself. But I love to cook. I just haven't mastered Indian food. I really haven't attempted it either. I'm very intimidated to cook it. Even though I have my mom to teach me, I don't know. I haven't made that attempt yet to really learn these dishes that I love so much. I have my mommy make them for me. Anyway, so yes, enjoying my mom's company while she's visiting and some great Colorado thunderstormy weather. It's been fabulous. All right, getting into the episode. The Robbery. I got to be honest. It's not a good one. I watched the episodes multiple times in preparation for this podcast, and this one was tough to get through even once. It's so flat, and it's because it's not written by Jerry Seinfeld or Larry David. In fact, this is the only episode from season 1 not written by Jerry and Larry. It's written by a writer named Matt Goldman, who has gone on to great success. He's a New York Times bestselling author. He's a big producer. But I don't think this episode of Seinfeld is on his highlight reel because it's, just a very, very boring episode, I have to say. So just like the Stakeout, The Robbery is based in truth. Jerry's apartment at one point was getting robbed very frequently. And one time, in fact, the robber came through the wall, and Jerry joked that it was like he had been robbed by Superman, which is very on brand for Jerry Seinfeld. Even though it's based in truth, it still doesn't make for a great episode, I'm sorry to say. The synopsis for this episode, from the coffee table book in the DVD box set, the synopsis is as follows. Jerry is robbed after Kramer fails to close the apartment door. Elaine talks Jerry into looking at a fabulous apartment that George is listing, hoping she can then have Jerry's place. This neat solution is complicated by the fact that George decides he wants the new place too. The stress of deciding who should take the new apartment leads to none of them taking it. Meanwhile, Kramer probes a British neighbor to see if he knows anything about the robbery. The first scene, which I'm calling the master packer scene, because this is the scene where Jerry is packing for his trip. Elaine is there. And again, just the writing is not great. Jerry does a little bit of a superhero impression, and it felt like your dad doing it. It wasn't good. I am the master packer. Ugh. We do learn more about Elaine. We learn that her living situation is not ideal. She lives with a waitress actress roommate, and they don't get along very well. We also learn that she doesn't make a lot of money. Later in the scene, when George comes in and she begs him to find her a better place, he makes the comment that, well, it's tough to find anything in her price range. We're getting more bits and pieces about Elaine and her life, which we didn't get in the first episode. So at least there's that. Also, I have to say, it's weird to see George as a real estate agent. It was such a short-lived career in these early episodes. And like I said in the last episode, I do try and stay in the time frame of when the episode takes place. But especially with George's career, it's hard to... I don't know. It's hard not to look ahead and all the drama of every single job he has in the future. It's very odd to see him as this like real estate agent who's got it all together. He seems very capable at what he's doing. And so, yeah, it was just a weird way to see George as this real estate agent. I totally had forgotten that was his job. We also learn, as Jerry's explaining everything to Elaine about his apartment, that it pretty much sucks. And I did notice when Jerry is setting the rules about any sexual activity Elaine might have while he's gone, that she must do it in the tub, which we all know from the English Patient episode, Elaine is not a fan of that. Sex in a tub, that doesn't work. Is it possible that she learned that over these few days when Jerry was gone and she was staying there? Perhaps she did try. She brought a dude over and they tried and it didn't work. So perhaps this was when she learned that sex in a tub, nope, does not work. Elaine also eats Oreos in this scene. And when I saw her eating the Oreos, I was like, oh, wow, Kramer's impression of her in a later episode eating Oreos is pretty spot on. She is practically having sex with them. I do like that they snack quite often on the show, particularly Elaine. I mean, she's always digging around Jerry's fridge or cabinets, and it's just one of the elements of the show I find charming, that they're not just Elaine, but everyone's eating and snacking in most scenes in Jerry's apartment, and I appreciate that. Purpose of this scene is to establish what's happening in the episode. Most first scenes have to be that way. My take is meh. Lots of setup, but not done in a very compelling or entertaining way, unfortunately. But at least we get a little bit more information about Elaine's character. We see her eating Oreos. We can maybe assume that her sex in the tub not working was born out of this stay at Jerry's house. I don't know. That's what I'm going by. I'm trying to extract some entertainment out of this episode, which is very tough. The next scene, where Jerry returns from his trip, he discovers he's been robbed. And I don't want to really talk about much else in this scene except for, why does Elaine walk out of the bathroom with the plunger? It's never talked about. I don't understand. Look, okay, as an actor, I've been on enough sets to know that every element, from the positioning of furniture to your wardrobe, your hair, everything is very thought out by multiple people. So this was a decision made that, oh, okay, we'll have Elaine walk out. Let's have her walk out of the bathroom with a plunger. It might have even been in the script. And it's just, I can't get over it. I don't understand. What else are we to assume except that Elaine just took a fat dump in Jerry's bathroom? I mean, I'm sorry about making this a little bit disgusting, but I'm not the one that made Elaine come out of that bathroom with a plunger in her hand. And wouldn't it be Jerry's nature to ask about that? I know he's distracted by the fact that he's been robbed and he's very shocked by it and he's trying to figure out what happened. But I also think, just knowing Jerry's nature, he'd be like, why do you have that plunger and what happened in there? And then later in this scene, she's cleaning that plunger in the sink, in the kitchen sink. Again, the only assumption I can make is she took a big old deuce and now she's cleaning the poo off in the kitchen sink. It baffles me. I don't understand the thinking behind this. I definitely think Jerry would have asked about it. It's if anything, this proves that nothing romantic is going on. All the sexual tension is gone. I mentioned, there was like a flirty energy in the stakeout. Oh my gosh. I mean, if you were interested in someone, I think you wouldn't show them evidence that you clogged their toilet with the fat deuce. That's all I'm saying. So the sexual tension just absolutely dissolved in this episode. The purpose of this scene is Jerry's been robbed. Kramer didn't close the door. I did enjoy Kramer's bold and the beautiful excuse. He got caught up, those soaps that can really suck you in. Kramer's performance really saves this scene, and I'm just baffled by Elaine and her plunger. The next scene is the scene with the cop where Jerry is filing the police report. Elaine would have gotten that joke when Jerry finds out that his answering machine has been stolen as well, and he makes his little joke about, I hate the idea that someone's out there returning my calls. Not the greatest joke, but Elaine would have gotten that joke. This is further evidence to me that Jerry and Larry didn't write this. I know this is only Elaine's second episode, but to me, it's a real miss that she was so confused by that. Like, I didn't get that joke either. Like, come on. She would have gotten that joke. Elaine would have gotten that joke. And now if she called him out for it being a dumb joke, that's fine. That's more on brand with Elaine. But it was weak for me that she just was like so confused by it. No, that's not Elaine. Matt Goldman, it's just not. Right, moving on to the scene where Elaine, George, and Jerry go and see this fabulous new apartment. This is probably the strongest scene for Elaine because she gets to really show her desperation to sell Jerry on this apartment because in her mind, she's already moving into Jerry's apartment. And JLD plays this really well. You can see the desperation. I love the excitement that she has about everything about the apartment, following Jerry around as he's contemplating it. I really liked that. It was a great performance. Again, even though the writing's not great, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, I feel like she's that actress who really extracts what she can and makes it as good as she can. And this is evidence of that in this scene. Her dialogue isn't anything very compelling, but she still gives it an energy that I really appreciate. There's a rare hug moment between Jerry and Elaine. And the reason I bring this up is because for any of you hardcore Seinfeld fans, you might already know this, but Larry David had a very specific mantra for the show, which was no hugging, no learning. And really what he meant to do with that is set Seinfeld apart from the bevy of shows at that time that always had some emotional touchstone at its core. I'm thinking about maybe like Cheers, Full House, or maybe like Growing Pains. There was those shows around this time where they always had some kind of a serious moment or a touching moment. And Jerry and Larry were very clear on like, nope, that's not this show. No hugging, no learning. This is just about these four people and they're having real life issues, but we're not setting out to change the world, at least with any kind of moral, emotional center to the show. So we did get a hug in this one. I know it's early on, but I just wanted to point that out. So Jerry agrees to move and Elaine is moving too. They're ecstatic. But we do notice George is having some thoughts as he's realizing how great the place is. It's one of the better scenes. Like I said, at least Elaine has some entertaining things to do, although it's not really, any kind of elevated comedy. It's something. It's movement, at least. And Julia Louis-Dreyfus has done a great job really conveying that desperation that Elaine feels. And I don't know, as watching it, I really was pulling for her. You really want her to get out of that living situation. And you really want this to work out for Elaine more than anyone else. The next scene where Jerry is negotiating with Elaine about the couch. Now, if the last scene in the apartment was the best one, this scene, oh my goodness. Well, I guess not the whole scene, and I'll talk about that in a little bit, but at the beginning with the negotiation between Jerry and Elaine about the couch, it is such boring and filler dialogue, just a nothing conversation about a couch. And then finally, when George arrives with the Lees, it gets interesting, but this is an example where Elaine's in the scene, but wow, it's just, there's really no purpose to her being there other than this little filler dialogue up top in the scene. And then when George comes and they, figure out, oh my gosh, he actually wants it. And then they play the choose game. And even in the choose game, they turn to Elaine to decide for them or help them out with judging it. And that's an opportunity, I feel, as a writer to give her something, but it just is, I better not. And I'm going, oh, great. Okay, so then what the hell's the point of Elaine being there? If you were anything like me and had no clue what choose was or how to play it, maybe I'm in the minority here because I grew up a child of Indian immigrants, and there were many, many things like this where I have just no clue because I wasn't brought up with these types of games. So if you were like me and did not know what this game was, I did a little bit of research, and this is how you play. Basically, you choose odds or evens, and then you say once, twice, three, shoot. Each player either holds out a closed fist, one finger, or two fingers. Therefore, the total can either add up to 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4. If it is 0, no player wins. If it is an even number, the evens player wins. And if it's odd, the odds player wins. All right. That was helpful. I didn't know what they were doing. I didn't understand how George lost. Again, maybe everyone knows this, but I didn't know it. So I learned something new. Thank you, The Robbery. You're good for something. All right, before moving on, I'm going to take a quick break. I got another company wanting to do an ad on my podcast, so I'll see you on the other side.
Honey, we're all out of coal and the barbecue starts in a half an hour.
There's no way we will get any coal in time for our party.
This ever happened to you? You need something, but you don't got the time to run out and get it. Well, don't fret, because all you need is guy delivery service. You need coal? You need wood? You need some flowers for your hotsy-totsy masseuse neighbor? I'm your guy. So next time you need a delivery, call me, Guy Gulverson, founder and owner of Guy Delivery Service. Just call KL5 Guy. That's KL5 GUYY. And you'll be able to relax because you got your wood guy, your coal guy, your whatever your heart desires guy. Guy Delivery Service. I'm your guy. Tips are appreciated.
And we're back. Moving on to the housewarming party scene. The scene prior to this was when Jerry and George decide neither of them can take the place. They don't feel good about it. A waitress at Monk's overhears this, and she's got this baby voice, and the scene ends with her saying,
"What's the rent?"
That was my impression of her. It's not very good, but whatever. So they're at this housewarming party, and they're all miserable. Now, Elaine really got screwed here. I felt for her. She's really the only one who has any business being this miserable at the party. These two guys couldn't work out their issues. She was going to get George's place if he moved in. So all they had to do was work out their crap so that poor Elaine could get out of her shitty living situation, and they couldn't do that. So they really screwed Elaine over in this. And the fact that she agreed to go to this party with them, yeah, that shows you she's pretty forgiving, because I would have been really pissed. That being said, I do like how all of them play the miserable mood on that couch, just kind of wondering why they're there. They themselves think they shouldn't be there. So I did like that. They get introduced to the hot next door neighbor, Diane, who is a masseuse. Now, Jerry, as we know, dates a masseuse in the future, and perhaps he would have gotten his coveted massage from Diane if he took this apartment. Yet another thing to be sad about for not taking the apartment. Also, I wanted to note, Diane is played by Kimberly Cates. And I was watching it and I said, she looks familiar. And it right away clicked. She played one of the princesses in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Just a little trivia for you guys. I'm one of those people who, if I'm watching something and someone looks familiar, I can't help but try and figure out what else I've seen them in. And then if I can't do it, I have to look at IMDb. And it's just, it's one of those things. I'm not satisfied unless I can figure out where I know that person from. So yeah, as soon as she came on screen, I was like, I think I know. She was from Bill and Ted's. And I confirmed it on IMDb. So anyway, some useless trivia for you. I'm full of it. The funniest moment in this scene to me is Elaine, after Diane leaves. Elaine is looking at her boobs, kind of comparing them to hot Diane. So we find out in this scene the kind of closure about what happens to the apartment. It's fine. I really did hate the "what's the rent" line at the end where they all say it in unison. Ugh, that's so not Seinfeld to me. The whole thing with the husband, it was really heavy-handed about all the benefits of living there. Oh, I've lost weight. I'm running every day. And it was just, and I understand that they're really trying to lay it on thick with what a mistake that they have made not taking this apartment. So I get it. I just, again, the writing, not great, Matt Goldman. I'm sure you're great at so many things, but this episode is not the crown jewel of your career. So some final thoughts. It's a rough episode. Slow pace and bad writing. I can't forgive the slow pacing if the writing's bad. I have to say it's really crazy how you can tell right away that it's not in Jerry and Larry's voice. And I feel like Elaine just was lost in this episode. She was sort of a device to move this story along. It just wasn't interesting at all. And just knowing the capabilities of Julia Louis-Dreyfus, it was sort of this wasted opportunity, I think, to make something more interesting happen for Elaine. The only interesting thing that came out of the extras from the DVDs was that, and this is literally the only thing they mention other than it being based on Jerry's apartment actually being robbed. The only other thing they mention in the extras is that an earthquake hit while they were filming this episode. And I can't help but think it was like the earth trying to shake loose something funny and entertaining. Or maybe it was like the earth trying to erase the episode like an Etch-a-Sketch. I don't know. My favorite Julia Louis-Dreyfus moments, I mean, what can I say? There wasn't much for Elaine in this. I mean, she was in most of the scenes, but her contribution to the plot was pretty one note. She only had one motivation, which is fine. But I also think that it was a missed opportunity to show more of her range like she did in the Stakeout. And yeah, just as flat as can be with the whole episode, but particularly with anything to do with Elaine. I mean, I had to dedicate so much time to my huge dump theory with Elaine to make this entertaining because, well, there wasn't much else that was entertaining about this episode. So that's it for The Robbery. I don't think I can say much more. You have to get through these episodes. If you're doing a rewatch podcast, it means rewatching even the shitty ones. So we got through it, and I hope I made it as entertaining as I could for you. Looking forward to moving on to more entertaining episodes. But thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next time.